Hello.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to Stereo, Steve.
What's going on, Jeff?
You sound good, man. Um your avatar this I mean you look even better as an avatar than you do in real person, real life.
Yeah, it's hard to look like a fat guy on Avatar. You can pick your own.
This is super cash and um I'll give people a chance to come on in. Um it says pick a topic here. Normally I just do open talk because you and I have a lot of history together. We've been all over the world together, and I'll give you a proper introduction when people get here. But
Cool.
the point is, I love coming on stereo, and it's like a way to talk to my friends, and other people get to listen in, kind of like a party line. You know, our parents' generation, they could just listen to what hopefully will be somewhat interesting dialogue. Um,
Yeah, for two
my
ninety
buddy,
nine a minute. $2.99 a minute. Listen to us.
your hair looks great in the avatar. I just want to say.
Thank you.
Um, what?
No, I spent a
My
lot of time getting my hair ready.
my buddy Steve Ross is my guest right now. It's his first time on stereo, so um, he runs an organization called Artists and Athletes Alliance. It's top notch. It's the coolest. They host events. They educate people. I've gotten to really see a backstage pass to Washington D.C. because I got to be friends with Steve Ross. He's also, as timing would have it, worked at least 30 presidential debates, and I think vice presidential maybe, and also some mostly primaries. So you really get to see the inner workings of these parties, both Republican and Democrat. So Steve's always sends me interesting articles about what's happening in politics, and him and I do a private chat about it, but we could never release that because it would be too embarrassing because I don't know anything about politics. I have to ask Steve
It's all
what he
good.
thinks, because he lives in Washington D.C. I assume he's either in his office or his apartment right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm at home now. Just this town is, everyone's getting ready for the debates tomorrow night or Thursday night. And, DC's lives on politics, breathes on it, eats on it. So, being the last debate of this election cycle, everyone's on pins and needles for their side.
uh, yeah, the election is just what about 2 months, 3 months away. It's coming up.
It's 16 days away, Jeff. Not 2, 3 months.
What's gonna happen, Steve? Are people gonna? I hope nothing crazy happens on election day. You know, I've been watching House of Cards lately, and it really worries me because, if any of these people have seen this, there's all kinds of stunts you can pull on election day. With the military and voting and it really it's like it's the most American day. Like it's when people really get riled up. So hopefully it'll be a peaceful day.
Yeah, I think it'll be peaceful. They've done a lot of these over the years. There's a lot of anxiety and pressure, and people are amped up. But ultimately, whoever gets the most votes and electorally, I think the people's voices will be heard this cycle, like they usually are. And we can talk about electoral college next time or whenever you want. But, I think this is going to be a record turnout. Last cycle,
Really,
2000, yeah,
really.
in 2016, 138 million Americans voted in the election. They're expecting
Jeez.
153 to 160 million this time. So people are out early. People want their voices heard
150 million people.
or
Man,
more.
could you just imagine?
Yeah.
Imagine being that
So
famous. I mean, Donald Trump is he the most famous person in the world?
yeah, he probably is. Um, but that's
Who's
for
more
both sides.
famous?
That's
Who's more famous
Who-
than Donald Trump? He got what he wanted, to be the most famous person in the world. He should leave with his
right.
head held high if he loses. He got the fame award of history. Most
Well, you
famous
know
person in the
Donald, right?
world.
You
Oh
worked
yeah.
a couple debates, or a couple of roast with him. How did you
You
find
worked
him
the
during those?
debates. I worked.
Right.
He was a lot of fun to do the roast with. The writer said he was sensitive about his finances, but and I believe that for sure. But no one told me what to say, so I was able to say whatever I wanted. One of my best jokes was, Donald. Um, I read your book, The Art of the Deal. How come it had 4 Chapter 11s?
That's good. Yeah,
A little
that's a good one.
bankruptcy humor. Went over big that night, and it was
Right.
fun.
Well,
Um, the point is, life will go on. This democracy has withstood some crazy, crazy episodes. So I think life will be
absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
I think-
Like when I got confused between debate and roast and elections and Comedy Central roasts, there's a lot of similarities. The candidates, everyone's ego is like a star performer and they all want to have the advantage and they all want to get the most speaking time. And, I just think Hollywood and Washington have a lot in common and a lot of it's craziness, but I think they're very parallel universes with egos, staffs, and
Do you
personalities.
think this is? Do you think this is the most roasty politics has ever been, or is it? Was it always? I tend to think it was always like this because if you've seen Hamilton, you know that those guys would duel and they would mock each other and debate each other and ridicule each other publicly all the time and to their faces. That's what you know. It's kind of
Yeah.
like how it is in England, the House of Commons. They're all just yelling at each other all day.
Yeah. But now you got social media. You don't need to do it in the House of Commons.
Right.
That's the big difference that I see from working on a lot of these elections since '96. Is that the old days you waited to watch the news, you got the news a couple hours a day, and now it's never ending news cycle. The news cycles last an hour or two, and there's always something crazier. But social media has definitely taken this election and got it amped up, and it gets people more amped up because they're seeing it 24 hours a day, good or bad or made up.
Right. Did you see the documentary on Netflix about social media that everyone's talking about? I haven't seen it yet, but
No, I haven't.
I'm
But
thinking about taking a break for the holidays. I don't want to see everybody's goddamn holidays. It's going to be too depressing. Everybody's There's either people that are still quarantining, there's people who have no jobs, there's people who are sick and dying, and then there's like everybody else on Instagram being like, "Yo, what's up? I'm out here having so much fun."
yes, it's the holiday season. This should be a crazy one, just like you said. Who knows?
What's it
But I
like in
think
DC right now? Is it cold out yet? Is there a lot of homeless people outside, or what's going on down there right now?
well, thanks for asking, Jeff. The weather today was 76 degrees.
Uh,
The homeless people, you know, I went to, I went to give a guy, I saw a guy outside the other day and I brought out some food to give to him, like a sandwich. And he's like, I just want your money. I don't want food. And, one other time in DC, they're pretty spoiled. I asked the guy what he wants. Do you want a coffee? He goes, no, I want an almond croissant and, chai tea latte. I'm like, oh my God. The homeless people are asking up in their game a little bit.
you're so funny, Steve. If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to my buddy Steve Ross. He's a political consultant. He's an advocate. He's an all around good guy. He's from New Jersey, just like me. He lives in Washington D.C. He's been a big part of the last 30 presidential roasts. Not, I did it again.
Rose.
Deba- Debates. Is that right? So you go
Well,
behind the
over the
scenes.
years.
You've met
Yeah.
every single candidate to run major candidate, haven't you?
I've taken almost every single candidate since, a long time ago to the bathroom doing commercials and debates. So my family's very proud that, I'm knocking on
Uh,
the door saying you have 30 seconds, sir. The debate's starting back, or running down the halls with Obama and Hillary and, John
Well,
Edwards,
it's more than
you
that. You
know.
got to calm everybody down. You got to make them feel relaxed. You got to meet with their team. It's a lot of logistics, and you get to
Oh
use
yeah.
your experience as an advanced man back in the in for Dick Cheney. And when I met you, we were on our way to Iraq. Drew Carey organized a mission to Iraq in the early days of the American adventure there. Um, and I was this reluctant comedian, scared shitless, and there you were, also probably scared, but not letting it show, being very stoic. And I knew you were a special guy then because you fearlessly went with 7 comics into a war zone when Saddam was still in hiding, and I remember vividly, you and I were like definitely having a lot of friction, not really getting along. I was like this like peace loving hippie dirty comic, and you were representing the government, and you wanted to make a good impression, and all I wanted to do was stop in Amsterdam on the way there and smoke pot.
Absolutely.
and, and your job was to keep us out of trouble. And then our hotel got mortared. The Al Rashid Hotel got mortared after our first or second night, and you and I were already kind of like, and then they told us we had to stay there again that night because even though they blew out half a floor with a mortar explosion, it was still the safest spot in the green zone to stay. And I remember the lieutenant colonel that was in charge of us. I don't know if it was random or intentional or what, but we suddenly had less rooms, so we had to shack up together. And somehow you got stuck with me.
Right. Not saying that you have insomnia. I go to sleep at 11. You go to sleep at 6 a.m. Um, you know, but before we get to there, when I was putting together this trip with Drew in the Defense Department, they have very strict requirements. You need to have a passport or a valid ID. And I was
Right.
dealing with your manager, and he's like, "Well, Jeff doesn't have a passport, or he doesn't have a valid license." And
Right. I didn't want
I
to go, so I didn't even get my driver's license. I had so many parking tickets. I was like, thank God I didn't pay those parking tickets. Now I don't have to go to freaking Iraq.
right. And then I remember your manager arranged to get your license like handed off, came to the airport, and you were able to go. And you know, that was looking back 17 years ago. It's cool. You're one of my best friends now. You've shared a lot of your experiences, but you were definitely the most difficult guy to coordinate to get on that Iraq trip.
It's so
And then
funny.
and then I flew from DC, and you and Drew and everybody flew from LA. And I've been at the airport a couple hours, and Drew says, "Hey Steve, these comics want to go out to some of the hash houses. Take them so they don't miss the next flight." So we go. You have a camera in my face. The first second I met you, you're like filming it. I'm like, "Is that camera on?" And you're like, "No." I go, "What's that light?" And you go, "Hey, it means the battery's on." And that became your movie, Patriot Act. So you were nonstop, man. You're high energy, and after all these years, it was worth the hassle because I remember the government told us to give strict rules that you're not supposed to tell people in Amsterdam where we're going. We're not going to Iraq. And we get in a cab, and you're like telling the Muslim driver, "We're going to catch Saddam Hussein. We want the $25 million bounty. We're going to Iraq tonight." So you were violating the rules from the first minute. But,
Yeah,
you know,
well, I wasn't violating them. I just couldn't keep up with the rules. It was
oh,
all a culture shock. It wasn't like I was trying to get anybody in trouble or myself in trouble, or that I didn't respect the mission. I certainly did, but I was just overwhelmed. I didn't
yeah.
know you. I didn't know. It was all like I was a fish out of water, literally flapping around trying to figure out what I was. I was scared.
I
I'd
think we
never
all
been to a
were.
war zone. If my parents were alive, they never would have let me go. That's what my sister told me.
But how many trips for the USO military trips have you been on since then?
Oh my goodness,
A lot.
countless, countless. Can't
Yeah, you
remember.
you
I have artifacts around the house that remind me of certain moments, like a tomahawk that they gave me in Korea, or challenge coins from Iraq and Guantanamo Bay, and and Djibouti, Africa, and Alaska, and
Right.
Germany, and Kosovo, and Japan. All bases,
Right.
beautiful bases. Alaska. So I went to Alaska just this past Christmas with Seth Green. We made a 5-day USO tour up there for the holidays. That was that was beautiful. Hard work, but
Well,
beautiful.
and you went with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right, over Christmas one year. Didn't you go to like the Iraq and all that stuff? And
Yeah,
you
I
were in
guess
the
that was in
close.
2017. Yeah, went to Iraq, back to Iraq, my third time. Man, I can't. When they ask, it's not that I want to go on any of these trips. You kind of dread getting the call, but then when the call comes, you can't say no because you know you have to do your duty as a citizen. Soldiers fight for my right to talk shit the way I want. Free country. I'm not going to take any of that for granted.
No, it's you've done a lot, and the fact that the highest military person in our country, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, specifically wants you, Jeff Ross, to go on these adventures, and they laugh. And I've run into the chairman of the Joint Chiefs over at a Memorial Day concert, and I mentioned your name, and he said, "Hey, we're middle of the Pledge of Allegiance." He goes, "Let's finish this before I talk about Jeff." So he did the Pledge of Allegiance and said, "Jeff's a great guy." I think he was pissed that I interrupted him during the pledge, but I wanted to say you said hello. So, but you've made a difference.
Thank you, Stevie. Thank you. Well, it's enriched my life getting to visit the hospitals, meet the wounded people. Really, if anything, makes me more of a peace lover. My uncle was a
And
World
since
War
it,
II medic, so I understand. Like he would talk about how rough it was.
no,
Always been
man,
scared of war. I hope we never go to war again in that scale.
when's election day? Well, we should know the next day whether any of that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I mean we're not. So far everything's calming down. Hopefully we'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what you should think.
Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. It's great to
But
talk to
Jeff,
you, Steve. Yeah.
hey, no, it's great. Let me just jump a topic that, the
Yeah.
fact that you've gone from knowing no military members, going to Iraq, traveling with the Chiefs, and then, working on criminal justice reform, which Artists and Athletes was when we got invited to the White House for the First Step Act, nonpartisan, bipartisan
Right.
legislation. But I mean, you've really come a long way from like the improv to work in the White House.
Hey
And they
man,
loved you.
I'll take palaces, White Houses, well, criminal justice reform, that's something that brought you and I to the was it the Rose Room?
The
Um
East Wing, the whole,
East Wing.
yeah, East Room,
My,
right.
my theory is like if you can make a difference in that area, then you got to do it. Like if you're rotting away in prison for selling weed 20, 30 years ago, and that shit's legal now, I mean, that's
Yeah,
enough to make a sane man crazy. So you don't care who the president is. You have to try to do a deal and try to get those people released. If you're in jail
absolutely.
for a life sentence or a long sentence for something nonviolent, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Politics has to move to the side.
This
That's
was a
how I
non,
see it anyway.
it was a bipartisan bill that did get signed. And, that was one of the few joint things that happened this last 4 years that's been very impactful. And, you know, 10,000 or more people are free now because of that. And, thanks for your help. I know the Cut 50 appreciates all the work you've done for them and just helping those less fortunate who are stuck in the criminal justice
Right.
world.
That's a tough world to live in. Shout out to Cut 50, and it's an amazing group of people over there. And oh, I you know I, I was at the Johnny Cash Museum in Nashville last week, Steve, and now I'm reading Johnny Cash's autobiography, and I'm really looking forward to the chapters on why he performed at Folsom and why he did so many shows in jails and connected with prison. He was never actually in a prisoner himself, which was interesting. I'd known that, but to hear him talk about it, and I don't know. I have a lot of empathy for people who make mistakes. Everybody deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever been arrested, Steve? What was the closest?
When I was in high school, I went across the street for lunch, and a guy had some weed with him, and cops caught us. And I didn't even have it on me, but they brought us down to the station, and they called our parents, and they said, "Your son was with a group of guys who got caught with weed." So my mother said, "You need to go see a psychiatrist. You're all fucked up." And the long story short, that's when you're in high school, just trying to go along with the crowd. That was what happened. But that's the only time I was working one presidential event at the National
luckily,
Building Museum.
luckily
Oh,
we were white and we didn't have any problem.
absolutely. Yeah.
You were working what?
No, I did advance for many years for different presidents doing the logistics. And one time I was doing one of I'd done 10 events at the National Building Museum. And my job is to wait outside as the presidential motorcade's coming in. And I grab the press corps that travel as part of the White House travel pool and get them in a
Mm-hmm.
side door so they could be ready to take pictures. So as I'm waiting for I hear the president's motorcade coming down. A local police officer goes, "Get down." I go, "I'm here to work." He goes, "Get on the ground." And he put my hands behind my back. He made me get on the ground as the presidential motorcade is pulling up. My job is to meet the press pool. So they
Oh
eventually
my
saw me.
goodness!
Yeah, they saw me on the ground. And
Wow.
they travel with a Secret Service member in the press van. So he came over. But that's the first time I did hundreds of events. That's the only time I've been jacked up, at an event. But, the guy, I said, "Here's my pin, here's my radio, here's my ID." He goes,
Jeez.
"Get on the ground."
Wow.
So
In an abundance of
that's
caution, they
all
took
right.
you
Well, he could have
down.
beat the shit out of me. He could have
You have
nightsticked
a
me or
very honest face, though. I'm surprised he didn't believe you. That goes to overzealous security there.
yeah.
But
But they get all jacked up when any president is coming. They secure the blocks around it. They close the streets. And here I'm just standing by the curb waiting for the press pool like I've done hundreds of times. And he's, "Get out of here, sit down. Who are you?" I said, "Here." And he didn't give a shit what I was saying. But
who
luckily he
has the
didn't beat
best?
me up.
Who had the firmest handshake? Was it Bernie, Hillary, Trump, Cory Booker, Kamala? You know,
You know what? I
Elizabeth
can make
Warren.
one up, but I don't remember. But I have, everyone has their different personality, and the debates. I work the primary debates, and when you
Right.
work them, is it's based on poll numbers. So the people who are higher in the polls get the center stage. The ones who are less polling at less numbers get the side ones that get less visibility. And I've had a
Hmm.
lot of candidates come up to me and go, "This is bullshit. Why did I get such a terrible podium position?" So I go talk to my bosses. They go tell them, ask them what their poll numbers are. And then say, when your polls get to equal the guy in the middle, we'll move you to the middle. I mean, everyone wants that, when there's 10 candidates on stage or 8, everyone wants to be the center of attention. And ultimately, it's the people with the highest poll numbers who are in the prime positions. So like this cycle,
Oh.
we did some split debates, but it was like Bernie and Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Those were like the 3 big names to start. And then you had the Mayor Pete's, but all the stages when they're set are based on poll numbers, and they go one side to the other. So the people in the middle are the higher
Or the
profile
highest
people.
polling. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. And how do they decide what kind of podiums to use and what height? Is everybody's podium obviously at a different height? We're all at the same height, or how do they
All
how
the
do they
podium.
negotiate? Because I know when
Well,
I do a roast, I want the podium like adjusted right for me perfectly. I don't want to look
right.
like have it too low or you're hunched over or too tall or you can't see. Who negotiates that and how do you enforce that at these
Well,
primary debates?
all the podiums are exact same size. But what we do is we have apple boxes like a half inch, an inch and a half, 2 inches. And the day of the debate, all the candidates come by to visit the podium to get briefed by the producer and the director to show them where their guests are sitting, where their podium is, where the cameras are. And so we let them try the apple boxes. We let them try, the and see whatever they want to do. They come sometimes. Their aides, their personal aides, will come with different ties or different jackets, like Kamala or Elizabeth Warren, if they were wearing a jacket, like a pantsuit type thing, that
Right.
they'd come and see what color looks the best. We showed them what the backdrop was going to be exactly when they're on stage. So, everyone would come in 15-minute increments. So that was kind of cool over all these years to be there for the walkthroughs. Some take it more serious than others. Some just come, walk around, want to shake
Who would
hands with
not take it
everybody.
seriously? Who would? I would be
Well,
so. I would take it so seriously.
well, I'll tell you one. This is a long time ago, but it was the final couple debates with Bill Clinton and Bob Dole. And I
Right.
remember Bill Clinton went in there for his whole allotted time, looked at the podium, did everything. I went in there with Bob Dole, and he's like, "Who wants pictures with me?" He looked at the podium for like 5 minutes, took pictures for the next 40 minutes. You know, it just everyone's got different personalities. Some people need to use the bathroom every commercial break. Some candidates don't use the bathroom at all. Um, you know,
You think they're
we
doing
have
drugs in the bathroom, or they're just like nervous
no.
peers?
But can I tell you, like during commercial breaks, I go on stage with my partner Eileen, and we go take half the candidates. We're like, "Do you need makeup? Do you need to use the bathroom? Do you need?" So like, of course, Bernie Sanders is like, "What's the next topic? How long is the next topic going to be?" I'm like, "Well, we have 2.5 minutes now to use the bathroom, sir. If you care to go." So you know, no. I had one
Uh,
candidate. One candidate, I said to him, "Do you care for a makeup or to use the bathroom?" And they said to me, "What I could use is a goddamn question once in a while. I'm not getting any questions. I'm getting totally screwed." So I brought over the moderator. We came back from commercial break. Let's go to, and they went right to that candidate with the first question. But it's usually the
really? So you say
candidates, yeah.
right?
But I mean, but in the trucks, they time everything. So they'll say, all these candidates are within like 10 seconds of an equal airtime. But as we all know, when it's the Republican ones, it was Trump, Jeb Bush, as the face of the bigger name ones, they want to give more time to and visibility. But I've worked with from Giuliani, who was running, to Chris Christie, to,
Wow.
Hillary, Obama, Edwards,
Chris Christie.
Biden.
Every time I saw him do those 2 hour debates, I kept thinking like, God, these guys must want to fucking take a break and sit down for 10 minutes.
So,
Sometimes they're standing there a long time. I got to move around when I stand still. Maybe like pace a little bit.
but
Those,
here's the
the,
best part. We tell all the candidates, staff, and the candidates in meetings leading up to it that there's to be no interaction between the campaigns and the candidate during the debate. So during commercials, we don't want them getting briefed, having people say, "Hey, don't forget to say this." Once the debate starts, we don't want any staff. But a
right.
lot of the Republican candidates over the years, or last cycle at least, their staff would say, "My guy needs this paper, this hand towel because he's sweating. Another guy, his tie is crooked." I said, "Well, I'll go tell your candidate that." So I go up to the candidate and say, "Hey, your staff said that your tie is not straight on TV." And he's like, "Fuck the staff, man. They should have told me before I came out here in the first." And I said to another candidate, "Your staff thinks you're sweating a lot and you should wipe down." And he's like, "Shut the fuck up." So it's really fun to see what goes on. And in talking to all the candidates during the debates, some people are very nervous. During the commercial breaks, when I did the Obama debates in
Yeah.
2008, when he was running, during commercial breaks, his aide would say, "Hey, Steve, go tell him the score of the Chicago Bears game." That's what he didn't want, a bathroom or makeup. I go and say, "Sir, the Chicago Bears are leading tonight's game," and he'd be always cool. He was always, and they all have their different styles. So, like President Obama just wanted quiet the last few minutes before introduced. His staff would all get out of the room. Other people are getting briefed until they are walking, out their door. And I meet them at their green rooms. I get them all lined up and I walk them out together. And there's no staff. There's maybe a security, my partner Eileen and I, and then we just
Right.
bring them off to the side
I
stage
see
and wait to
pictures
be introduced.
every time the debates start. I see you like right there, right walking out the big candidates. It's always interesting.
Right.
That is such a high tense
No,
situation. You ever crack jokes to try to break the tension? That's
no,
what I would
usually at
do.
that point, yeah. The point is, everyone's in a different mode and mindset, and some candidates, like I'll talk specifically President Trump's staff, or when he was running last cycle. They're like, he doesn't want to, come out early. He wants to be the last one. He doesn't want to, and then all of a sudden Trump would be the first one out talking to everybody, going up to, up to Chris Christie and going up to guys. And I heard other candidates, they say, hey, I heard you shot something in the golf. And he goes, yeah, I did. And they'd say, I don't believe you. I think you're making that totally up. So it's fun just to hear the bullshitting.
Shot something in the what? Shot something what?
No, it's like in golf. Like,
oh,
hey,
golf.
I heard you shot you shot a 72. And then
right.
He'll say I did, and the other candidate goes, I don't believe you. I think you're bullshit. It's to see that stuff. And there's clicks between all the candidates. So you'd see a few people hanging here, you see a few people hanging there, and and there's almost literally fist fights backstage between staffs. The last few minutes of a debate, we bring a rep from each campaign, and when some candidates are down in the polls or it's getting down to the voting day, there's a lot of stress, and I've seen literally almost fist fights on stage. I mean, behind the curtain, which luckily we had security that broke it up before we got it. But you hear the moderator saying, hey, and this concludes our debate, and you see these two guys in each other's faces. So
jeez,
it's fun. It's been a interesting stuff that not many people have had a chance to do.
Debates is there an after party after a big presidential debate?
Well, all the campaigns.
I remember you invited me once. You invited me once to the one in Brooklyn. I had to take a boat to get to the fucking show.
That was the Bernie Hillary debate, right?
That was a Bernie Hillary debate. That was crazy. That was so interesting, and to see democracy in action like that. They were arguing over what kind of soup they're going to have at the after party at the deli. What?
The best part of that debate was you were in your seats with Eddie Stevens, right? And I went out to greet the candidates as their arrival. And I looked through the door, and you and Eddie and George Reinblatter walking like out to the arrival point. It's like the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Bernie was about to arrive. Hillary was about to arrive. And everyone's like, whose are these guys? I'm like, they're my friends. They really shouldn't be here. But, it's always interesting.
We were the last ones to leave. I think I took a leak in Hillary's trailer. She was long gone.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fun, man. It was fun times, buddy. Thanks for giving me this backstage perspective to the debates. And you don't mind me kidding around, which is fun because you've seen it all. You've really seen it all, Steve Ross. If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Steve Ross from the Artists and Athletes Alliance. What's the best way to follow A&A? On Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. You'll see the pictures, and or our website, artistandathletes.org. You were cool when I was starting this 12 and a half years ago. You were one of the first people I came, in 2008, and
I love your
explained
events.
to you what it was.
Yeah.
So. No, but we've grown a lot thanks to you.
Tell people how it started, and I don't know how much you like to tell the general public. This is a very exclusive thing for artists and athletes. This group sort of sets up and is the nexus between Hollywood and Washington D.C. and professional sports. And I remember you brought the Haitian ambassador to L.A. To a private dinner where we were able to ask questions about the earthquake in Haiti many years ago and get a very expert perspective, an eyewitness perspective of different world events. And I know you've worked in on environmental issues and criminal justice issues with Van Jones and Cut 50 and Jessica Jackson and all that group. But also, I remember you threw a great inauguration party. Was that what it was? One year when Obama got in, and you're really connected to Hollywood. But also, when anyone from Hollywood comes to Washington D.C., they got to find Steve Ross, and they'll know what to do and where to go, and you'll help them see the right people. It's been so fun getting to see your organization sort of grow in different directions. um, Artists and Athletes Alliance.
Well, thanks.
And I know you have some like big plans, but I feel like everything's on hold until the election's over. The whole country is in this sort of like it's like a pregnancy. Are we going to keep it? Or are we going to get rid of it? We're going to keep it, or are we going to get it's really it's like a custody or something, custody issue. Maybe that wasn't the most elegant analogy I'm making, but you know, I just feel like it's a very tense moment right now in the world, and I don't know what your perspective is. I know Artists and Athletes is a nonpartisan organization, and but it really feels like anything can happen. I after last time when the polls were so weird, I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Everybody, everybody for sure thought Hillary was going to win. She was up big in the polls, but ultimately, it's all the electoral college. And you got Trump's going to lose. I'll just say California by a couple million votes. This is just because of that. But that's not really whether he loses by a million or loses by two. It's electoral college, meaning so it's good. That's I think Biden will get more votes, like Hillary got more votes, but then it's just how many more and in the right states. As you mentioned, we're a nonpartisan organization, but
Right.
yeah, I've been here. When Obama was here, we had J Lo, and we have A-list coming through. We'll work with them. When Trump's here, we have like Scotty Baio, Anthony Sabato. We'll work with whoever. I mean, Ted Nugent. But the level is at least a
By the
lot.
way, they're doing a Happy Days reunion. Did you see that? For Democratic candidates, a fundraiser, the Happy Days cast, Ron Howard and Henry Winkler, the Font, they're all getting together for one of those virtual table reads, and they don't want to use Scott Baio because he's a Republican.
Right. Well, that's
So
funny.
John
Right.
Stamos is going to do it, and he'll be great.
But you know what? Just with all there's obviously the Hollywood community is very liberal and leans towards whether it's Hillary or Biden. But I go to both conventions every cycle. So I was in Cleveland in 16 and Philadelphia. In Cleveland, minimal celebrities. It was the ones I just mentioned. Plus, I think Blink 182 or something was there, and they just flipped the bird at all the Republican attendees while they were playing. So they just did it for the gig. But ultimately, the Democratic convention had every A-lister: Katy Perry, Bradley Cooper. But you know what? They didn't win. So I think that was a good way to show the Hollywood community that although they're all the big name people, there's Republicans out there, but you're seeing more of the West Wing, the Happy Days, the Golden Girls reunion for Biden. Ultimately that doesn't really. They could use their visibility to get people to register to vote, and I think that's been big this cycle. But ultimately,
Right.
no one's saying, "Hey, I really got to know what Betty White's who she recommends I vote for, or whoever."
One thing's for sure, this might be her last presidential election, but I hope she has many more. I love Betty White. She knows that. Betty White is so old. The color white was named after her.
That's funny. Hey, man, but I want to say I know you've come to a lot of DC events. You've come to debates and White House, but I want to, as you know, I appreciate you brought me to so many cool. You invited me to the I was going to say debates, but I meant roasts with Bieber or Joan Rivers, and you've shown me. It was the Saget roast, the first one, and you really showed me a unique side to the entertainment community and chance to become friends with a lot of the guys that you've introduced me to. So thank you for all your hospitality in LA and in the entertainment
You
community.
got it. You got it, Steve Ross. You got it.
Perfect.
Folks, if you're listening, you should follow Steve Ross, Artists and Athletes, on this app, because I think this is a good format for you, Steve. I think you should do talks yourself to promote your adventures.
Well, this is
You're
my first
an
stereo
interesting.
app. So
That's what's fun. This is a great way to, there's low pressure.
well,
People are very open-minded here. You can speak freely.
cool. Well, Jeff, we should
We
do
got
one
we did,
after the election. Let's do one of these after the election, and then
that would be fun.
we'll
Do you have any
we'll
Do you have any predictions for this next debate? Do you think with the mics being cut off, that's the new rule between Biden and Trump? They're gonna cut the mics off if you go too long. But then they
no,
get to then they have an open part where they could just yell at each other anyway. So what the hell's the
right.
difference?
Well, what they're doing, Jeff, exactly is the first 2 minutes when the moderator, Kristen Welker, asks a question. Joe Biden, what's your view or what do you think of this? For the first 2 minutes of his answer, the mic will be turned off for Trump. Now, that doesn't mean Trump can't scream loud because the other mic's only, 12 feet away. But, I think this is done just to keep it, to give everybody, when Trump's talking, they're going to mute Biden's mic. And, this will be interesting. There's been fights today about the topics. Usually the debate commission lets the moderator pick them. The Trump campaign came out today, or it's been saying it's unfair because they were told it was going to be foreign policy. So it's going to be a shit show either way, I think, because I think the last one, especially with the polls showing one thing, is that this is
foreign policy. They were like, this is like
right.
a pandemic going on. Nobody's got, every restaurant in America is closing. Let's talk about France. The fuck?
So, but tomorrow should be, the last debate, they did the separate ones, which let's say got 12 million and 10 million viewers. So a total of 22 million viewers watched it. If they did the virtual one, 50, 60, or 70 million people would have seen it. So some people think it was a lost opportunity for President Trump to get in front of a big amount of people for an hour and a half straight. So this will be an interesting one to see, what happens. I want to see who's wearing masks. Do people take them off? And if they do take them off, will the moderator just stop the debate and say to whatever candidate, your guests are not wearing their masks, so we're going to hold to stop the debate right now. So,
it's Halloween.
Anything could happen tomorrow.
It's Halloween. Trump should wear a Darth Vader mask. It would be funny if Joe Biden wore a Trump mask. I don't know.
No, I think it's going to be.
They can psych each other out somehow for Halloween.
Well, in the old days, the campaigns would try to psych each other out by they'd have, let's say, 8 seats in the front row. On one side would be the Democrat, one would be the Republican, and the other. I remember when Bill Clinton was debating, Bob Dole in '96 invited like all the women that accused Trump of or accused President Clinton of like sexual abuse. They're all in the front row. You saw that in the debate last cycle. President Trump brought some women who's, it's like a never ending.
Stunts, right? I always thought Hillary kind of ignored it, but I wish she had used that moment as saying, I know you're trying to intimidate me or throw me off, but you can't do that, Mr. whatever she called him, whatever, Donald, because I was the fucking Secretary of State and the U.S. Senator, and I'm glad I'm running against you so I can show little girls all over the world that they too can grow up and become president if they stand up to a bully. That's what she should have said, but instead she ignored it. It was just weird. It was just weird, and
I've heard her talk about it. I've heard her talk about it after, where she had that choice. She just thought if she was too confrontational, they would say, "Hey, look, the woman can't take a little heat. She's getting all." So it's really interesting. There's moments in these debates that will be remembered for years. And it was Mike Dukakis against H.W. Bush in was that in 1988, where the first question out of the box by Bernie Shaw was, Mr. Dukakis, if your wife was raped and murdered, would you want the death penalty for that person? First question. And he hemmed and hawed and said, well, I'm not really for the death penalty. And, and right from that moment, his numbers started going down. They're doing polling as it's going on with live polls and, and group polls and stuff like that. But
see that they gave him a gotcha question. It's such a terrible way to start a show, by the way.
Or a softball question where he could have come out and said, I'd castrate that motherfucker, and anyone did that to my wife, I wouldn't care what the law would say. That's another way to answer it. So there's always, there's 2 ways these can always go, the questions. And depending on how you answer it, is, and Ronald Reagan, I wasn't there for it, but he seemed a little slower in one of his debates out of the three. I think the second debate. So the third debate, he came out and he says, "I'm not." When in his opening remarks, he says, "I'm not going to bring my Walter Mondale. I'm not going to bring my challenger's youthful
Right.
demeanor."
Inexperience.
And his numbers went up. So a lot of times people are looking for that first soundbite in the first
Well, a good turn of
few
phrase,
minutes.
a good high-minded insult is the best jab you can have. I mean, especially if it's a retort. I'm surprised none of these people call me in for roast battle training because I'd be able to help. But yeah, it's not a comedy show, although it winds up being very funny at times because Trump was an entertainer. I think if he loses this time, it's because his act didn't evolve. He's still doing the same lines, the same shtick, lock her up. Um, you know, you got to everybody, even the funniest comedian has to break out some new material. Um,
Yeah, I want to
we
tell you a
got
story. I just do you have a minute?
yeah, yeah.
We were doing
Take
this
your
a
time.
debate this cycle. We were doing a debate this
How
cycle
many?
and
Hold on.
backstage.
How many debates have you been to? Would you say? Take a wild guess.
It's
Presidential
between
debates.
primary debates, 30 to 35 of them. I'd have to count them out, but somewhere in that number. Been
Right.
to two regular, like these ones tomorrow is the Presidential Debate Commission. So they do three debates with the presidents and they do one with the vice president when it gets down to the
Right.
last one. All the ones earlier are put on by the television networks. And that's why the CNN and MSNBC, and they're all trying to
I
get them
see.
so they could program around them,
Right.
So it's really interesting to see. But during this last debate cycle, we were on the debate, and during one of the commercial breaks, we're in the holding rooms. Candidates come off stage and they go to the little green room. And somehow a couple of the university cleaning crew were in there, just standing in there in the green room. And I'll never forget. And Joe Biden said hello to him. And
Yeah.
they said, "Can we get a picture with you?" He goes, "Absolutely." So he took a picture with them, and it was great. They were smiling. I brought the candidates back on stage. I come back, they're still standing there. I'm like, "Hey, this isn't. You can't just hang here, to empty the one garbage can for the next 2 hours." So they waited in the back hallway. They waited in the back hallway as we were walking out. Joe Biden saw him and went back to him and said, "You guys, I love you. Let's do another picture." It was really just to see the interactions between the candidates who
Right.
do well or, who are nervous, who don't, who've done it for a long time. It's very interesting just to see
Yeah,
how
like,
each of them.
Biden kept his cool. He was still in a good demeanor even after a long performance like that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, going to be interesting. Interesting times, Steve. What was the worst mess up you ever saw at a debate? I mean, even if you don't want to name names, but like where somebody just, a staffer or a candidate just really did something like bonehead or
Well,
careless.
I've seen people not make it back on stage after commercial breaks. There was one
Really?
candidate. Oh yeah, my partner Eileen and I, we always are on different side of the stages to take them. And when there's women candidates, there's more hair and makeup. Some people want to
Right.
get their hair done every commercial break or makeup, and other candidates don't want any makeup. So it's just interesting to see. But sometimes, candidates take longer in the bathroom than the 3 or 4 or 5 minute
So
commercials. And
Bernie Sanders didn't want makeup, yet he seems to need makeup more than anyone.
yeah,
Uh,
no, I'll tell you one Bernie story that was great. This is not this cycle, but last cycle. So during a commercial break, I said to everybody, "Do you need to use the bathroom?" Two of the male candidates said yes. This was in Vegas debate. So we walk off the stage, and Senator Sanders says, "No, I'm all right." So we go in there. It's like I'm hearing 2 minutes till we go back on air, and then Bernie walks in. He says, "I got to go to the bathroom now," and it's like everyone's leaving, and now it's 60 seconds, and they're like, "Steve, where's Senator Sanders?" I'm like, "He can't come out yet. He is, So it's just stuff like that. And I'm getting yelled at from the control room. "Get him out here!" I said, "I can't get him out." He's so. There's just a lot of craziness going. I turn the water faucets on. I'm flushing the toilets to get the water sound going. So maybe that'll help speed things up. Um,
Didn't you meet the Pope once?
Yeah, but that's our next talk, man. We can't go from a bathroom discussion to the Holy Father.
All
So
right, all right, all
we'll
right.
talk
I felt
about that
like at a
next
certain
time.
point I was just setting you up. It was so funny. Hey, listen to me. There's like 25 messages. Some of them might be really out there. Some of them might be insightful. I'll
Take 'em.
react, but if you want to say something, you can jump in. But
Okay.
I feel like it
Yeah.
might be fun if we just hear them together. Is that okay?
Perfect.
All right, here we go. I see a bunch of messages from the listeners. Here we go. My guest is Steve Ross from Artists and Athletes Alliance.
Trump 2020.
All right, great. Maybe. Oh god, maybe this wasn't such a good.
What's up, motherfucker? Back in the house, Black Devil Jesus, motherfucker.
Yeah, thank you, Black Devil Jesus.
Hey, Steve, what's going on? Longtime fan, first time caller. I just want to know, I voted early. I'm pretty sure Jeff did as well. When do we start knowing the results of the early votes?
Thank you, Eddie Tunes, Ed Larson.
Well, the answer to that is if you put the votes in the ballot boxes that weren't burned in California and weren't Republican fake boxes that they're put out there, but they gather them up daily, and I think they start counting on election day. I mean, I think every state's a little different, has different views, but every one that's in now will be counted. The early votes will be counted with the regular votes. So
wow, okay. So then
they won't release any numbers. They won't release any numbers until election day.
Thank you for your question, Eddie. We miss you. All right.
Oh my God. This election is about to be trash. Can we just have a moment where America just doesn't always seem like it's in the perils of doom? I mean,
that's a good one. Jose de Hype. Thank you.
I think Obama's more famous. He's got more than twice the Twitter followers.
Oh, Eddie
Thank you, Ed.
Makes a good point. He's saying it because we said Trump is the most famous person in the world, but Obama's got more Twitter followers. Well, that's a really interesting point. Maybe Obama's the most famous guy in the world.
Life ain't gonna go on if the Democrats take over. They trying to destroy everything.
Okay.
Great commentary, Angel. Thank you for that.
Yeah, when it comes to the House of Commons, start the cartoon noise. Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Holy shit. Steve Ross with Jeff Ross. Two of my all-time favorite Rosses outside of Ross for Less. Steve, miss you. When you coming back to town, bro?
Yeah, thank you, Kai.
Kai, love his artwork, Jeff. He does great stuff.
When are you coming back to town? That was the question.
Well, when's this pandemic over? No? I'll be out there. I just, after the election sometime.
All right. Here we are with Steve Ross, my buddy, Artists and Athletes Alliance. Check them out on Instagram and in real life. This is Stereo. This is Jeff Ross. This is Open Talk. What do you motherfuckers want to say?
Everybody should watch Jeff's movie Patriot Act and watch the development of the wonderful relationship between these two fantastic men.
Oh my God, chick. Mark Chapin, thank you for that. I wish I listened to these in the beginning of the show. This would have been a nice, way to start. But I think it's also a very appropriate ending. So thank you, Mark.
I hate to interrupt you all, but this is for Jeff Ross. Man, love you on Comedy Central. Love you everywhere else, man. Can't wait to see another roast. Roast me if you want. Rockin' Rick.
Rockin' Rick.
But just want to say, love you, man. Keep it going. Keep comedy alive. Comedy matters.
Thanks, Rockin'. What's more rockin' than a guy with an underscore between Rockin' and Rick? Thank you, Rockin' Rick.
The light is for the battery. That's amazing. And to think that that's actually the way I met you, Jeff, through this, making the poster. Steve, you're awesome on this show. You should be on it again.
Yes, Life of Kai. Thank you, Kai. Kai made the poster, the movie poster, when Patriot Act started showing at film festivals. Kai Arns. Thank you, Kai. Thanks for listening,
you.
everybody. Here, let's hear a few more, Steve. This is really
So, Steve,
Fun.
deep dive into your mind right now. You being so close to 45. What is his current state of mind? And how do you think this election's going to turn out? Big questions.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Well,
That's a lot.
The answer
You don't
is,
have to
I think
answer all that.
no, I'll answer the first part. I think people who work right next to him in the Oval Office don't know his state of mind. You know what I'm saying? His personality is Donald Trump. That's what got him to win the election. He's a fighter. He wants, he needs enemies, and he's combative, and he's going to do a lot of rallies and cause a lot, call a lot of people names, and that's his style, and it helped him win last time. And I just think that it's just unfortunate that he got COVID exactly when he did, because he wanted to move the conversation away from that and into other topics. But
like foreign policy and the economy and bouncing back and all the same, old stuff. So as soon as he tries to switch it from COVID, he goes right back to lock her up and build a wall, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's like
and the crazy thing is, and just from watching many years of different stuff, is like he's calling Joe Biden that he's has a mental, he's getting senile. He's calling him old man. He's calling this. If you see the health, Joe Biden hasn't got COVID yet, and he's standing up for that he's healthy and he's as vigorous, he's as vibrant and energetic as the president. So.
Well, in a way, the quarantine was like a blessing for the Biden campaign, because he was able to stay home and rest up instead of wearing himself out on the campaign trail all summer, and plan his cabinet and make deals with people so that he had his ducks in a row, if you will. So in a weird way,
I think it did help.
It was great. Yeah.
Right. And President Trump wants to do 3, 4, 5 rallies a day with tons of people and no masks. And that's his call. If that's what he wants to do and people want to go, do it. Joe Biden is doing his own thing. But for his mind, is he's up in the polls. Public supports him, meaning, more people support the mask than no mask. And it's, sometimes things just work out. But, I don't think anyone's going to believe it. My prediction is the election will be called by 11. Well, I'd say 11:30 p.m. on election night. I don't think it's going to go
DC
weeks or months. Right. I just think that it's not going to be in the courts. I don't think, because that's my gut feel. I think it's going to be. Usually elections are like wave elections. You know what I'm saying? And people, if they're going to show up and vote, and this is going to be interesting, because this could reshape the whole political system if the Democrats win the White House and take over the Senate. So
right, but that's Supreme Court. That's going to be conservative for decades now. So that'll be your balance.
Right, or in decades. But there's a lot of other things. But we should talk Supreme Court next time.
All right, pal.
Any more questions? Is there any more?
Yeah.
Yo, no funny shit. All I know is nobody in here better be supporting Trump. Word to my mother, because if I hear somebody support Trump, it's going to be a problem.
Thank you, Miss Wop.
What up, what up? Just checking in. Just got done at the Air Force recruitment office, and seems like you guys are, dude. What do I do? Do I sign my life away?
Thank you, John Jordan. I don't know what that was. I felt the guy starting the car and talking about signing up to the Air Force. That was a very intimate moment. John Jordan, sign up, baby.
John, we're proud of you.
It's called being an accessory to crime.
Thank you, Black Woody Allen. I don't know what that noise was, but...
Yeah, luckily y'all was white. Luckily you white, right?
Luckily we're white. That's true. We're privileged.
Bernie does not give a shit about a podium or a backdrop.
That's probably true, Ricky
That-
Rants.
A
That is
nation
true.
will not survive morally or economically when so few have so much potty time and so many have so little. Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Jess. Good one. Bernie.
Yeah, the custody issue analogy is definitely hilarious. I think it's just like a bunch of bullshit that we want to throw to the public to not handle the situations.
This guy's just making up any old bullshit, I think.
Why is y'all talking, but y'all is so freaking ugly. But don't speak to me, bitch.
Thank you for that insightful commentary, Dean.
Better let me talk, bitches.
Okay.
Fuck, come over there. Yeah. I know what y'all stay out. Yeah. Poo. 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 I come over here, kill your ass.
Thank you, Dean. I really appreciate it. Please don't come here
Jeff.
and kill us. Yes.
Jeff, who's screening the calls tonight? Is that Eddie doing it? Who's screening the callers tonight?
That's the beauty of stereo. It's the wild, wild west. It's an open
That's
talk,
cool.
Steve.
It's all
Anybody
good.
can come at us. Any weird ones, I'll dump out quick. Don't worry.
No, it's all good. I like
That
it.
lady promised me 6 whole bars of cream whip hazelnut milk chocolate.
See, Steve, I like hearing the weirdos. It reminds me of, the old Howard Stern Wag Pack or something.
This is great. Keep it going.
All right.
Yo, Jeff Ross, what's up, yo? Headed to
What's
the
up?
boo. Follow a pimp. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Sunglass Pimp.
I feel like living in the United States in the year 2020 is like watching the fall of the Roman Empire, but with Wi-Fi.
That's funny. Habanero.
Jeff Ross can clown anybody. And I think some rappers have been hurt by him talking shit to people. Dude, you are the shit.
Thank you. Ushi the Little Wild, whatever your name is. Shout out to Snoop Dogg, whose birthday it is today. Did you know that, Steve?
I did know that from seeing your earlier Instagram story.
All right, there you go. All
But
right.
thanks. This was
What?
fun tonight, Jeff. Thanks for letting
It
me
was a
be
lot of
on here
fun.
with you.
It was a lot of fun, dude. You're a great guest. You're such an interesting guy, Steve. You're still young, but you've already led quite a career, quite a life. You're a Jersey boy, done good. And I'm proud to be your friend. Follow artists, athletes here on Stereo. Follow artists and athletes on Instagram. And get involved, people. If anything, I learned a little bit talking to Steve. It's fun taking a walk down memory lane to our trips to Iraq during the Gulf, whatever it was called, the 2003
Golf. Yeah.
Operation Iraqi Freedom. Is that what they called it?
What did you call it on stage that got the biggest laugh? Do you remember?
What did I say?
You said they should call this Operation Enduring Diarrhea because you had that from the first minute.
Good one, Stevie.
All right. Hey, before
love
I
you,
check
buddy.
out,
Yeah.
I would thank you for, it's great being on here with everybody. I want to shout out Brendan Kownacki, Kownacki Media, who's helping artists and athletes with all our election videos and get out the vote. So thank you, everybody. Talk soon.
You're the best, Stevie. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for doing this. I'm going to play the last
got
few
it.
messages, but I'll talk to you. I'll call you later, pal. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
doing the stereo with me.
Hi man, can you drop my YouTube out? I'm trying to switch my teeth.
I don't know what that. All right, here we go.
Hey Jeff,
Ziegler.
will there be a roast the host tonight? I'm trying to, schedule my shit.
Sorry, man. Ziegler, I probably won't do one tonight, but I will do one tomorrow. Don't worry.
I love how Steve is so matter of fact about the behind the scenes stuff, and then he's like telling stories about helping Bernie Sanders pee. It's hilarious.
Jeff, I sure hope you're getting paid for this. Oh, and by the way, your avatar looks nothing like you. You're not that young.
Thanks, Barn Burner. They don't make old avatars, buddy. I did the best I could. Shout out to everybody who left messages, participated in the conversation here on stereo. We were live for over an hour now with my good friend Steve Ross. I love you guys. Damn, I'm in New York, talking the talk. I'm doing the podcast, full tank of gas. I got Cousin Ed and Gary too. I got the thick skin blues. Having a drink. My armpits stink.
Hey.
I'm feeling so good, I'm in the hood, I don't want it to end. I got the thick skin blues.
Thick skin blues.